the next team that really made a lot of moves those first couple days of free agency. Just keep it going. Have your moment. Have your moment. The Chicago Bulls, Sean and Tim, your beloved Bulls, they made some great moves. And it takes a lot for me to say that because I hate the Bulls as a Pacers fan. I really do. But man, Lonzo Ball, 4 years, $85 million via sign and trade with the Pelicans for Garrett Temple and Tomas Satoransky. And then they had their first little, where you kind of really were scratching your chin going, I kind of like this when they get Alex Caruso. They steal him away from the Lakers. 4 years, $37 million. And then yesterday was the one that really made you go, oh, they get DeMar DeRozan, 3 years, $85 million via a sign and trade with San Antonio for Thad Young, Al-Farouq Amino, and a future first rounder. I would have to imagine, Sean and Tim, you both are feeling over the moon right now about the Bulls.
You have no idea like how long we've been waiting for some stuff to happen, period.
Yeah.
Because the Bulls have sat on their hands for so long. They have not been in the playoffs. This will be, it'll be 5 years since they've made it to the playoffs last, when they had the three alphas year with Rondo and Butler. And
Dark
it's
times.
Yeah. So, and I mean, it feels way longer ago than that, but I am so proud that this team was able to go out and do what they done. I don't know how they did it either. Mid-season last year, they went out and they obtained Vucevic, and him and Zach LaVine didn't get to play too much. Zach caught COVID was under COVID protocol or whatever, and they didn't have time to really gel or anything. But like, that was the first seed planted like at last trade deadline, so we were kind of like, okay, fine, that's cool. And then by the end of the season, I was kind of like, I still don't like this team. Lonzo Ball, I feel like, was one of the top free agents this year. If you're not going to count Kawhi Leonard. The fact that they were able to go out and get the top guy is the first time really that's happened since 2006 when they went after Ben Wallace. And they had one good year with him, which I'll always love. That was one of my favorite Bulls seasons. But nonetheless, they ended up getting Lonzo in the door here for 4 years, $85 million, which I don't think we've seen the best of Lonzo Ball. He's been in bad situations, I think, pretty much his entire career. The first year that he was there, I feel like there was so much stuff about his dad out there. The Lakers, is LeBron coming? Is he not coming? And then he ends up coming, and LeBron's like, I don't want to play with this guy, really. So then he, pretends like he's injured for a half year. So, and that happened. And
we remember.
He gets shipped off. He gets shipped off to New Orleans. I don't think the fit was there either. Lonzo wanted to come to Chicago, which is the most impressive thing about this whole thing. There's not very many players that want to come play in Chicago, but he wanted to come play there. And there was so much smoke for like such a long time because they tried to obtain him last year at the trade deadline. They couldn't do it, but they still went after him. They ended up getting him, and they didn't get him for really that much in the sign and trade that they had there. So with Tomas Satoransky and Garrett Temple, how did they even pull that off? Why did New Orleans go for that? We'll talk about that later, obviously, because I have no idea what's going down there. But very, 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 very cool. Also, a couple hours later, they signed Alex Caruso, fan favorite with the Lakers. This guy, he's probably one of the best on-ball defenders in the league right now. So, and the fact that they were able to snag him away from the Lakers, I never in a million years thought he was going to come play in Chicago. But they got him, and then they got him for what, $37 million?
Yep.
4 years, 37?
Yeah, 4 year, 37.
Amazing. That's a great person to throw on your bench. And then the DeMar DeRozan thing happened yesterday, and at this point, I'm like, oh my God.
You guys should have seen our text messages.
It was... Karnasovas, I don't know what's going on with that guy. I don't know if he's a hypnotist in real life or what, to be able to get people to, get these other teams to take these deals. But DeMar DeRozan, and they got rid of him, and then they still keep Lauri Markkanen, who they could use later on. Now that market's kind of drying up, and I don't think much is going to happen with Markkanen, and I feel like he's just going to end up, signing the qualifying offer and end up playing with the team, and it's going to be weird for a while, but whatever. But every Bulls fan out there should be totally stoked at this point. They are back. They made big market moves for the first time in probably 10 years. even though this team looks a little disjointed on paper, with DeRozan, not a great 3-point shooter, but then you got Zach LaVine, you got Lonzo Ball, good 3-point shooters. Vucevic is here. I'm ecstatic, guys.
Yeah, I think you guys have every right to be. I mean,
let's put this. Go ahead, Joe. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. It's your team. By all means, please get it all out. Get it all out.
Well, I was gonna say, to put in the context of how far this has come, Kyle sat next to Sean and I when we did our video on the 2019 draft. When I wore this exact hat, celebrated that they took Kobe White, and now we're talking about them having Lonzo Ball and DeMar DeRozan. So, like, to talk about just how far it's come. Caruso is great. Actually, I really like the Tony Bradley move today as far as a backup center.
Yes.
He's not spectacular by any means, but to get him on a minimum to be the backup for Vooch is great. And then, Joe, we talked about it in a text last week. I really like the Ayo Dosunmu pick in the second round. I don't necessarily think he's spectacular by any means, but I had him in the 20s on my board. I think I had him like 27, 28. So the Bulls to get him 10 picks later is pretty awesome. It's fun. It's exciting because it's just like, we've been waiting for this for so long. If you remember when they traded for Markkanen, Sean and I literally went and just were so distraught because we lost Jimmy Butler. And so now to be here, like, talking about the Bulls potentially as a playoff team again is pretty exciting. And as far as DeRozan goes, I think the best part is, like, I wouldn't have been excited for that move if it wasn't for getting Lonzo, just to have to distribute to those guys. And the biggest thing I'm excited about is Patrick Williams kind of looking like now he's going to be like,
Forgot to mention him.
He's the future of the Bulls now, and he's going to have these guys to grow with. Like, that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, actually, right before we hopped in this call, I was talking to Kyle, because I was going back through the Patrick Williams tape. So obviously, with them getting rid of Thad Young, I was like, well, they're clearing the way for Patrick Williams to take over in that 4 spot. And I am not looking forward to having to go up against that guy 4 times a season. But man, he's great. My favorite part about the DeRozan signing is going into San Antonio, DeMar DeRozan averaged 3.1 assists per game with Toronto. He has doubled that in his 3 years in San Antonio. He averages 6.2 assists per game. The way he's grown as a distributor to kind of play that pseudo point guard position for them, to distribute to Lonzo, who can also run the offense. I love what that starting 5 lineup's going to look like. I think the projected 5 would be what? Lonzo, DeMar, Zach LaVine, Patrick Williams, and Vooch. That's awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah, and that starting 5, 4 of those 5 shot last year like over 37% from 3, with LaVine at 38, Lonzo at 37, Williams at 39, Vooch at 40. All of them can shoot it. Now, we know DeRozan isn't a 3-point shooter, but he is the best isolation player in the league. And I'm not just saying that. He's actually number 1 on the list of points per possession on isolation. The other 10 people in the top 10 of this list, listen to these names: Giannis, Harden, Luka, Lillard, Kyrie, Embiid, Paul George, Chris Paul, and Zion. And DeRozan is number 1 in the league on points per possession for ISOs. And that's because he's great at drawing fouls. That's a big part of it. He's able to get to the line and, get the easy bucket there. I think he shoots around like 85% or so from the line. So that's just easy money. But when you have a team full of 3-point shooters, and then you have, a bunch of people that can play make, Zach LaVine can lead the offense. Lonzo can play make. You know that DeRozan can. I love this team, and I don't know. I bought into the DeRozan thing because there was some murmurs that he might reunite in Detroit with Dwayne Casey, and so I went back and I kind of fully bought in on the DeRozan thing. Man, I think it's great. Him with Lonzo. Sean said it. I think Lonzo is probably the best attainable free agent in this year's class. I really do. We already knew that he was a good defender. We already knew he was a good playmaker coming out of college, but he struggled shooting, and he's become an excellent shooter. I would say he's, well above league average in shooting, and that's on high volume. His only knock, I really do think his only knock right now is his, he hasn't been staying fully healthy. I think he's playing about 50 games a season, but the Bulls have so much depth. I mean, honestly, they have so much depth in that front court and with playmakers that when and if Lonzo gets hurt, you have Kobe White to step in there. You have Alex Caruso to step in there. You don't need to run, all these guards at the same time because you have DeRozan that can also play make. So this team is really well built. And when you look at some of those rosters that they rolled out, a year and a half ago,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a crazy transformation. It really is. It's a crazy transformation that they did it and that they kept some of the young pieces. People say like, well, DeRozan's a bit older. They still have Kobe White. They still have, Patrick Williams. They didn't mortgage, their future for this. Zach LaVine is, he's still a young guy. Like they still have young pieces and they have players that are ready to be good now. And it is like a perfectly built team.
Yeah, I think
honestly.
it also just became a whole lot easier to convince Zach LaVine to stay when
Yes.
that contract's up with those
Yeah.
moves. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's just really a lot of complimentary moves by the Bulls. I asked the same thing I asked with Miami. Where do you guys see the Bulls within the Eastern Conference? I would say I think their ceiling would be like a 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And I think their floor, their ultimate floor would be play-in tournament. I just don't see a scenario where this team is not in some sort of playoff contention next season.
I definitely agree with that. I think that, I don't think they're better than they're in that Brooklyn, Milwaukee, Philly group by any means, Miami. But I think when that next year, I think I would take the Bulls roster. And maybe I'm crazy. Maybe this is me just being a super homer. I think I would take the Bulls roster as it is right now over the Hawks.
More shade thrown in Atlanta every week.
Right on cue.
But I think
They
the
got
Bulls
this
and the Hawks are
bum
about
down
right
there named Trey Young. He's a bum.
But as far as scoring options for the Hawks, after you I think the Bulls have more scoring options than them. I
They
think
do.
that you could probably make the case that that's your 4-5 this year. I think they're both better than the Knicks.
Celtics.
That's the one where I'm kind of back and forth because the Celtics free agency has been kind of terrible, which you just
What
obviously.
free agency?
What
I'm not-
exactly?
Enes
what
Kanter.
what
Enes
free agency
Kanter.
from the Celtics?
I
Yeah.
forgot all about them.
Did you know they don't have a point guard right now? It's Peyton Pritchard.
What, you don't
Wow.
believe in Peyton Pritchard?
No, I didn't at Oregon.
They have a backcourt. They're just playing in Madison Square Garden this year, both of them.
Yeah, so I think 4 through 6 is fair.
Yeah.
I like that.
I think they're in that Atlanta area. I think Indiana's going to be better. So yeah, I think that's fair.